What's up, everybody? The Super Bowl bye is nearing its end. The 49ers will retake the practice field tomorrow, and then it'll be nonstop all the way up until game day. Yeah, the team might be off from practice for a couple days in Las Vegas, but the events won't stop. It is going to be a marathon that we have to run like a sprint. So the Super Bowl bye was actually really short. Good news for the 49ers as we launch this intel session is that they're very healthy right now. George Kittle would have missed practice today if there had been a practice with a toe injury. We'll see how his status is for tomorrow, but I don't think that George Kittle is in any danger of missing the actual Super Bowl. We did see him at the Warriors game last night. This happened just as I was finishing my live, so we decided not to post anything or put the video up. But we could put it up right now because this actually really fits right in to a lot of my 49ers Chiefs prediction stuff that I'm going to delve into today. So this is from last night when the 49ers, the Warriors played Philadelphia. And let me tell you something, it wasn't the first time that the 49ers were in attendance for a Philadelphia loss this season. They got a couple of the faithful, a couple of the fans in there, and they got a loud ovation. But Joe Lacob, the Warriors owner, had a toast for the 49ers in a nice suite somewhere in the back room. Gave all of the 49ers customized Warriors jerseys. So you saw Trent Williams really happy with his. Javon Kinlaw also needed a very big one. And then they got courtside seats. So, and then obviously the Warriors won last night. Steph Curry was pointing at Deebo Samuel. There's a video of that going viral on the internet. Tough year right now for the Warriors. I think there's something like 20-24, but Golden State has obviously been there and done that as far as winning championships. They've won several of them here over the past decade. So the 49ers are trying to make their mark now. There's been a lot of interesting crossover between these two organizations. Bob Myers, the former Warriors GM who architected those title-winning teams, stepped away before this season. He's been at a lot of 49ers games. I even saw him at the game, the NFC Championship in the tunnel. Steve Kerr, whenever he's been in the area, has given Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch a call and tried to stop by Levi Stadium. So it's always productive to hang out with other winners. And the Warriors have been winners for a long time. They deserve that kind of respect. Obviously, this season's not going as well for them. All great things do have to come to an end. This might be the end of the greatness for the core of the Warriors as we've known it for the past 10 years, but still a class act for them to invite the 49ers after their NFC championship to Chase Center in San Francisco. Anyway, that was bye week stuff for the 49ers as this Super Bowl bye does near its end. I mentioned George Kittle, who would have missed practice today, had there been a session. Oren Burks, though, would have been back. Ambry Thomas would have been back. So, again, the 49ers injury list is super short. News, the Seattle Seahawks have replaced Pete Carroll. They hired the 36-year-old Ravens defensive coordinator, Mike Macdonald, to be their new coach. And Mike Macdonald, he has an impressive track record of coaching defense. He actually was a Ravens assistant before he went to Michigan to be Michigan's defensive coordinator under Jim Harbaugh in 2021. So he was just moving between the Harbaugh brothers. Then he returned to the Ravens to be their defensive coordinator in 2022. In 21, the Ravens had the number 28 DVOA defense, so not good. He improved them to a top 10 unit last season, and as we saw on Christmas Day, the Ravens are the top defense in football by DVOA this season. They ultimately even surpassed the Cleveland Browns, who had the statistical lead for much of the year. Anyway, Mike Macdonald is the Seahawks' new head coach, and Seattle has needed an infusion of defensive help. They haven't been good on defense for several years now. That eroded toward the end of the Pete Carroll era. But the reason I said in the title that I don't think that this hire is what really matters for Seattle is because they're going to live and die by the quality of the quarterback position. And Geno Smith just hasn't been good enough for this team to compete with the 49ers for a division title. So the hire that really is going to matter is who Mike Macdonald picks to be his offensive coordinator, and then who Seattle picks to ultimately be their quarterback for the future over the years to come. Because I think it's clear at this point that Geno Smith is not a long-term answer for this football team. Neither is Drew Lock, right? The Seahawks, they had Russell Wilson, who they committed to as their long-term answer for several seasons of the past decade, but the defense eroded after they had to pay him a lot of money. They traded Wilson for a bunch of assets to the Denver Broncos, and Seattle has picked up some nice players in return for that. But the offense ranked number 12 DVOA this past season, and the defense has been mediocre at best for years. So maybe Mike Macdonald helps the defense. I get it. But even if that defense moves up to number 1 or number 2 in the NFL, you're not winning the Super Bowl with a number 12 offense. You've got to get that offense into probably the top 5. So the hire that's actually going to matter for Seattle is the offensive coordinator for Mike Macdonald. A lot of people are touting Macdonald as some kind of NFC West killer, right? When you look at the NFC West, you have to beat McVay. You have to beat Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, the Ravens had success against both of those guys this year, although not as much against Sean McVay. The Rams scored plenty of points against the Ravens, and then they lost in overtime on the punt return for a touchdown. More of the success, I get it, was against the 49ers. That was one game's worth of success. The Ravens were playing good spot defense. They're defending the spot. You know, Brock Purdy likes to throw to a spot to get guys open. They're defending the spots well. Purdy wasn't progressing well enough through his reads. I will say, though, that Baltimore's got really damn good personnel. The Baltimore personnel is a whole lot better than what Seattle has to work with. So until Seattle upgrades on that front, it's really hard to see Mike Macdonald porting the number 1 defense over to the Seattle Seahawks. All right, we're moving on to a first look of 49ers against the Chiefs. I know I've talked a little bit about this matchup, but, you know, this is my first look involves looking at the passing and rushing efficiency of these two teams involved. And this is the bottom line for me. The 49ers need to make this Super Bowl about their number 1 offense. No holds barred. I mean, you look at this on the XY axis, the 49ers are an outlier offensively. They are head and shoulders above the rest of the league. We know that they rank number 1 overall, but this breaks it down a little bit further. The X axis is going to be pass offense, drop back EPA per play. They're the furthest to the right by a mile. The Y-axis is going to be rushing EPA per play. 49ers are the furthest up to the top, not by as much, but still by a significant margin. Meanwhile, Kansas City's offense, the drop back efficiency has been good. It hasn't been great. This might surprise you. I've been talking about the Chiefs being better rushing the football. They have been, but they're still slightly below average in terms of rushing efficiency. Either way, they're not anywhere near where the 49ers are on this chart. So the 2019 season Super Bowl, the Chiefs had the outlier offense. They're way out here. They probably weren't as high in the run, but they're way out here. And the Chiefs' goal in that game was to make that game about their number 1 ranked offense. And ultimately, the Chiefs in that season succeeded in making it about their top ranked offense. Obviously, it took 3 quarters plus, but then Tyreek Hill blew the doors off the 49ers defense downfield, and the story became Patrick Mahomes and how good that Chiefs offense was, even though they struggled for much of the game. The 49ers need to find a way to quickly make this game about their offense and nothing else, because the biggest advantage in this game is San Francisco's offense against anything else. Defensively, this is what the 49ers and the Chiefs look like. The 49ers are in the bottom right here. Let me remove my face so you can see the code. Rush EPA per play is negative for both of these teams. So both of these teams actually are struggling to defend the run. So is Kansas City over here. Meanwhile, both of these teams have been solid against the pass. Kansas City's pass defense, in fact, ranks number 3 in the NFL in EPA per play. So the desired quadrant to be in is the upper right. That means that you've been good against the run and the pass. Turns out that these defenses are both good only against the pass and not the run. So the 49ers have the more pronounced advantage when you look at this side of the ball. This is their offense. And they have that amazing rush EPA per play. Pair that with Kansas City's defense, which has been poor against the run. The 49ers should have a big, big chance at ball control in this game. I could easily see Brock Purdy or Christian McCaffrey winning the Super Bowl MVP award with this matchup. Now, other side, if the Chiefs work on their advantage, and there is one here, especially if you look at the combined totality of the Chiefs offense with what Patrick Mahomes can do. If Isaiah Pacheco can run a bit against the 49ers in the shoddier run defense, then of course Patrick Mahomes can move the ball too. I mean, we saw even Jared Goff see some success for part of the game last week, largely thanks to the fact that the Lions could run the ball against the 49ers. I don't think Goff is nearly as good as Patrick Mahomes, but the defense here is vulnerable for the 49ers. The offense, however, doesn't appear vulnerable. Yeah, they have sputtered at times. They sputtered at times in the first two playoff games, but ultimately Brock Purdy got the job done. Ultimately, the 49ers scored 34 points last week against the Detroit Lions. Kansas City has a better pass defense. Still, the 49ers need to make this game about their number one offense. Defensively for the 49ers, when you talk about the Chiefs also having a solid pass offense, Joe Thuney, the left guard, one of the best interior linemen in football, he might have a torn pectoral muscle. There's a really good chance that he is not going to play. And in that case, the Chiefs would probably go to Nick Allegretti. They'd have to go to their depth for the interior line. So if you're talking about an initial look at who might go off on the 49ers defense, Javon Kinlaw works a lot against left guard out of that three-tech position. Javon Hargrave can do it too. Javon Kinlaw has been really damn good. He actually leads all NFL defensive tackles in tackles so far during these playoffs. But the 49ers will need that interior, especially the three-tech, to get to work against the backup along the Kansas City offensive line. The Chiefs, over the course of this season, ranked number one in ESPN's pass block win rate. So they've protected Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes, when protected, has done a really efficient job downfield. He wasn't protected in Super Bowl 55 against Tampa Bay when the Chiefs had all those backups along the line of scrimmage. So Mahomes is not going to win on his own. Mahomes is going to need protection. Mahomes is going to need his weapons to deliver for him. The thing is, he doesn't have as many weapons as the 49ers do. He's got Travis Kelce, but as this season has shown us, if you can stop Travis Kelce, you're probably going to stop most of the Kansas City offense. Now, Kelce and Pacheco, too. I'm talking about the pass game with Kelce. But your stop the run, have some fun is going to be on display in this football game. It is really, really important for people to realize that this Chiefs team is very different than the 2019 Chiefs team that won the Super Bowl against the 49ers. And guess what? This Chiefs offense happens to not be in the ballpark of the 49ers offense. So the 49ers have a lot of the advantages that Kansas City brought to the table last week. Okay, I'm going to move this on to a 49ers Q&A. Not a lot of news today. I gave you the injury report. Cam Newton's been talking again. I think Mike put that up into a short, and we can sit here and we can answer some of your questions. Definitely not the 2019 Chiefs on offense. No, they aren't. Losing Tyreek Hill is a big deal because even if he's not getting the football, Tyreek Hill is creating a lot of space on the field with his speed. Matthew McGee is very confident. He thinks the 49ers have a chance to win by 20-plus points. As of now, I think they're only favored by a point or point and a half, but maybe that's a little bit too low. I think the 49ers do have a chance to win this game convincingly because of how good their offense is. The Chiefs' defense is better than it has been in the past, but again, this is the graphic that I think we should keep coming back to. The 49ers have an outlier in terms of offensive play. They put up 34 against the Detroit Lions, despite only scoring 7 in the first half. So that tells you they put up 27 in one half against the Lions, who were a mid-ranked defense. A 54-point pace over the back half of the NFC Championship game is something to be reckoned with. Normally, stuff kind of grinds to a halt in crunch time in the playoffs. If you can score 27 like the 49ers did over the course of that second half, you're doing something really, really impressive. Can I compare Cam Newton's career to Purdy's? Sure. I mean, Cam Newton obviously played longer. Purdy's only in his second season. Cam Newton never put up the passing numbers that Brock Purdy put up this year. Cam Newton, though, did have a good MVP season in 2015 when Carolina went to the Super Bowl. That's a comparison that we can make to. I get it. Cam Newton said that Brock Purdy is a game manager again today, and he said he's not retracting anything that he said. But I just think that let's see how Brock Purdy does in this Super Bowl, and maybe we can revisit that this offseason. I think a lot of this stuff is just noise. At this point, I've kind of just accepted there's going to be noise. There's going to be people looking for views. They're going to be looking for clicks. And my response to all of that will be to show people the efficiency. Brock Purdy led what the 49ers have going here up in the top right. Robert Johnson. Spagnola gave the Chiefs a great defensive game plan, I guess you're trying to say. When are the 49ers going to get an equal or better defensive game plan from Steve Wilks? Well, Wilks, to me, it's really interesting. Steve Wilks has been really, really good with the pass defense for the 49ers. I think the pass defense has taken a definite step up this year. As you can see, they're in that right side, right? But they're in the bottom right quadrant, which means the run defense has regressed. My big issue is that when you've been the top 5 run defense for years on end, and your personnel isn't that different, you shouldn't drop down to number 26 in run defense as the 49ers have dropped with Steve Wilks. I think a little too much of the focus has been a little too heavy on pass defense. I really think that the 49ers need to make sure that they get back to their roots on run defense. Is it possible on the fly? Maybe not. Maybe this is just who they are this year, because it seems like they also made personnel acquisitions that made them more pass rush heavy than run defense oriented, right? Javon Hargrave is a good example. He's a lot better pass rusher than he is a run defender. Losing Talanoa Hufanga also hurt. Losing Cleveland Farrell, who actually was the one run edge setting specialist, hurt the 49ers. So you look at all the things that have happened, and you look at the fact that Wilks has always had that DB background, and then you see this. You see that the 49ers have eroded as a run defense an alarming amount. That's trouble, and that's something that the Chiefs are definitely going to try to capitalize on. Stop the run, have some fun. This is a good stat. Brock Purdy is now 5-1 against quarterbacks taken number 1 overall. Brock Purdy also won his first career start against Tom Brady, who was not taken number 1 overall. But just imagine that in 10 years. If Brock Purdy continues at the trajectory that he's on, imagine the fact that we'll be able to say that and we'll still be able to say it even if he doesn't, but Brock Purdy's first career start came against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. First time that people were like, ooh, boy, this might not be a fluke, right? First game against Miami, he did some special stuff, Brock did, especially that third down throw where he got drilled by Jalen Phillips to George Kittle, showed us how good he was under pressure. But it was that game against Tampa Bay when he really, really started to wow people. My dad texts me right now. Happy birthday to him yesterday, by the way. It was on January 30th. Happy birthday to Alan. He says that the 49ers stopped the run in the second half versus the Lions. Yes, I would say yes and no. What I will say is that Detroit rushed 21 times in the first half at 7 yards a carry. In the second half, they only rushed 8 times. So it went from 21 to 8. And they still averaged over 4 yards per carry over those 8. But, stopping the run is not just an effort of the defense, and particularly the run defense. Stopping the run is an effort of your own offense and your special teams and just the overall level that you're playing at. Because if you can play good offense, good explosive offense, and keep the ball away from the opponent, if the complementary football is there, if you can put the opponent into worse field position through what your offense and your special teams is doing, then you can ultimately dictate flow of the game, dictate something on the scoreboard, and then it just is harder for the opposing team to run the ball as often. And I think that that's what the 49ers did in the second half. Detroit had 21 carries for 7 per carry in the first half, 8 for about 4.3 per carry in the second half. So it's not like the 49ers stonewalled them in the second half, but they did a very, very good job after the break. It went from 148 rushing yards in the first half of the Detroit Lions to 34 in the second half. And absolutely, it is a promising sign for the 49ers, the way that they stepped it up in the second half against the run. But by no means would I say that they completely figured it out. And they're going to have to be really, really wary of the overall impact of their game on their run defense. You've got to give yourself a good platform to play run defense. We've got an homage to the ladybug, which apparently flew onto Brandon Ayuk's shoe before the game. Thought it'd be good luck. Got some good luck and a lot of skill too on that catch. I talked about the ladybug catch or the BA ricochet or the immaculate deflection, and I'll still have more coming on that front here in the next couple of days. We have a commenter that thinks the defense for this game will be the offense scoring on all positions or at least 5 to 6 straight. I don't know, man. That's awfully aggressive to want an offense to score on 6 straight possessions. That's what the 49ers did against Philly, and it was exceptional. But Philly had one of the worst defenses in the league this year. The Chiefs, I would say, a top 5 defense. Against the pass, they definitely are. So scoring on 6 straight possessions against Kansas City would be an accomplishment for the 49ers. If Steve Spagnuolo blitzes over 70%, I don't think that Kansas City stands a chance of winning. He'll bring some pressure, but Brock Purdy was the best quarterback in the NFL against the blitz this year. So over 70% would be a crazy rate. That would be reminiscent of what Wink Martindale and the New York Giants did in week 3 against the 49ers, and Purdy burned them good in that football game. Kenny Hamilton brings back the key of the season for the 49ers. Stop the run, have some fun. Jay Alberto asks, when is Media Day? That's going to be on Monday, the big Super Bowl opening Media Day. 49ers plane arrival, I'll be at that, is going to be on Sunday. Media Day is on Monday. We'll have 49ers practices on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, along with some 49ers availability, at least on Wednesday and Thursday, I believe. I think it might be all 3 days, actually. And then the week will start easing off into more of a party mode on Friday and Saturday, and then Super Bowl Sunday in Las Vegas will wrap things up. Mike brings out the stats. The Chiefs blitz 32% of the time. It won't be 70%. I mean, yeah, in some games, the Chiefs probably have dialed up a really high pressure rate. Wink Martindale of the Giants, he dialed up, 85% against the 49ers back in week 3. Those days are over. Why? Because those days happened when Brock Purdy didn't have a lot of starts under his belt, and defensive coordinators were seeing if blitzing him that much was going to be effective. And once Purdy just absolutely destroyed those New York Giants blitzes during that Thursday night football game, defenses stopped blitzing him as much. Again, his numbers against the blitz are by far the best in the NFL. I'm going to read you some of Purdy's numbers against the blitz. Let me pull them up. That in and of itself shows you how advanced Brock Purdy is. That one stat shows you that he does his homework. He knows where to go with the football. He knows where his hot reads are going to be. And that is absolutely necessary against the blitz. All right, I have the numbers here. Against the blitz, yards per attempt. Number 1, Brock Purdy, 9.9 yards per attempt. Number 2, CJ Stroud, way behind at 8.6 yards per attempt. 3, Prescott, 8.2. 4, Lamar Jackson, 8.1. So 9.9 yards per attempt against the blitz. That'd be an NFL record. That'd tie Kurt Warner's normal yards per attempt number of 9.9 in 2000 for the NFL record in yards per attempt with enough passing attempts to qualify. So you blitz Brock Purdy and he responds with NFL record efficiency. That's basically what that means. 16 touchdowns, led the league for Brock Purdy against the blitz, 3 interceptions. They have this big time throw percentage against the blitz. Also, a league best 7.3% big time throw percentage against the blitz. That led the entire NFL. The top 3 in big time throw percentage against the blitz: Purdy, Jordan Love, and Matthew Stafford. Turnover worthy play percentage, Brock Purdy right in the middle of the pack. 11th out of 21 qualifying quarterbacks. His adjusted completion percentage ranked in the top 10. I mean, the numbers are really, really damn good for Brock Purdy against the blitz. So the efficiency is there, and the 49ers would welcome a team blitzing him 70% of the time. It won't be 70. And I don't think it's going to be 32%. I don't think it's going to be what the Chiefs average is. I think it's going to be lower than that because of the numbers that I just gave you. RC says Ambry Thomas will be tested and targeted. He gives me anxiety. What to do to improve? I think the issue with Ambry has been just lack of strength at the point of catch, and that's been a thing for him for several years. But you saw him get out-muscled again against the Detroit Lions. So he's got to turn around. He's got to play the ball. He's got to avoid the pass interference penalties. But even when he does that, if it becomes a contested catch situation, he's got to be more physical. I think that's the biggest concern against Kansas City. Good news for the 49ers is that their receiver core is way worse than it was in 2019 with Sammy Watkins and obviously Tyreek Hill. I don't think it's as much. Yeah, and Purdy is good about getting out of the pocket if he needs to. He obviously moves really well, but he's also good at processing the field, and he has the vision and the wherewithal to be able to hit the open receiver within that context. So Brock Purdy is just really, really good at essentially every level of this. There's a reason we're talking about him as an elite quarterback after what he's done over the past 2 seasons. Mike sent me a stat. Best quarterbacks in not letting pressures get converted into sacks this season: Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Brock Purdy. Josh Allen has let 10% of pressures turn into sacks. Patrick Mahomes, 10.4% of pressures turn into sacks. And Brock Purdy, 13.3% of pressures turn into sacks. He ranks number 3. Gives you an idea of how well Brock Purdy moves. In fact, that's something I think that's in my stats right now that I absolutely would want to look at and maybe publish a top 5 list here. This is all from PFF, and they do a great job. They have the pressure to sack percentage. And that's right. The lowest pressure to sack percentages in the NFL are Allen, Mahomes, Purdy, Jordan Love. The worst, Bryce Young, Zach Wilson, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's lost a little bit of elusiveness, not getting rid of the ball in time either. So, and those guys are getting pressured anywhere between 20 and 25% of the time. They're getting sacked anywhere between 20 to 25% of the time that they're pressured. Brock Purdy is down at 13% of the time. The 2 elite quarterbacks in that regard are Allen and Mahomes. Really, really hard to get to them. 10 to 10.4% of the time. So a testament to how well Brock Purdy moves is that very low pressure to sack number. And as Andy says down here, the Purdy's ability to get out of the pocket quickly is a big part of that. But I think that his ability to process defenses and get rid of the ball quickly is also big in that regard. Remember, Tom Brady was really hard to sack. I'm going to go back and see Tom Brady's number in this regard from his final season in the NFL if we're looking to pressure to sack conversion. Brady, he's even better than Brady last year. Brady was 14.5% last year. So Purdy's at 13.3%. Brady, he was already aging last year. That was his last in the league. I'm going back to 2021 to see where Brady was. I'm guessing it's going to be a better number. No, 16.6% in 2021. So Purdy has a really damn good number at 13.3%. It ranked in the top 3 in almost any season that I look. The pressure to sack percentage for Brock Purdy. One more look at 2020, the year that Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, 14.6% pressure to sack. So just let that settle in. Brock Purdy's pressure to sack percentage is lower than Tom Brady's this year, which is really, really impressive. I want to take a little bit of time. I was waiting for the 30-minute mark, and I was waiting for the crowd to pick up some steam here. Shout out to Mike. Want to let Mike, who's been producing these shows and been doing such an awesome job over the course of this season. Before things get really crazy for the Super Bowl, I figured we had a little bit of a buy lull here. There's not a lot of news. It's a little bit easier. Why don't we all give Mike a big round of applause? Mike has been aboard since we got this thing started in 2021 when we didn't have any subscribers. And he's believed in the vision of, promoting my articles, promoting just good, truthful work about the 49ers and the whole NFL. Does an awesome job with the thumbnails. And we've gotten out there. I mean, this is a social media channel that I think has grown faster than anything else covering the 49ers, and probably one of the ones, maybe it's grown faster than anything else in the NFL over the past couple of years. I don't have the metrics to back that up, but I know in 49ers land, it definitely has. And Mike is a huge part of that. So Mike definitely deserves a shout out right now. And we have people saluting Mike right now in the comments section. So thank you to Mike. He does a great job behind the scenes. Sometimes managing the chat in and of itself is something that's not too easy, but Mike has been doing a good job in that regard. Mike says that he appreciates it. One of these days, we got to get Mike talking on the show. I don't know when that's going to be, but hey, if he wants to come on right now, I think he has the technology. I think he has the permissions on the StreamYard to do it. So Mike is from Visalia, by the way, which is also cool. Pretty nice to see Mike getting this little virtual round of applause as I look on the chat section. Mike is also, I think we got the best looking background on 49ers YouTube. I think we do a lot of things the best, and I give Mike a lot of credit for that. We're not going to be shy about that. I think we do a lot of things the best between audio, video. Obviously, we integrate all that of the articles that I write for The Athletic, and we have a nice community too. We are at, I think, 64,000 and counting. Probably going to get to 70,000. I'll even guarantee it right now. I think we'll be the first 49ers channel as far as just, one personality talking to get to 75K. Definitely the first to get to 80K. We are on an awesome trajectory. So thank you to Mike, who, yes, is from Visalia. All right, let's move this back to the 49ers Q&A. Where's my text title? There it is. Here's my old prediction from the 49ers Lions. I still had that up. 34-24. Almost had it right, but then the 49ers gave up that touchdown at the end. Super Bowl set. Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes. I mean, what an opportunity here. I think in so many ways, when you look at this Super Bowl, the 49ers with that juggernaut of an offense that they're bringing to the table, even though the Chiefs have a really good defense, especially against the pass, as is illustrated over here, I think the 49ers have a chance to score some points in this game. Just because anytime you have an offense that brings points like this, you can score. There is a scenario in which the Chiefs' only chance to win this game is Patrick Mahomes engaging in a shootout with Brock Purdy. What theater that would be at Allegiant Stadium. Mahomes, Purdy, shootout, that would be awesome. I mean, it would be one of those things where, I mean, it would be Brock Purdy's ultimate chance to put all of the doubts to rest, right? If he beats Patrick Mahomes in a shootout in the Super Bowl, Brock Purdy is a made man forever, and there's no amount of noise that would be able to even distract from that. I think that it's one of the ways this Super Bowl can realistically go. Another way that this could realistically go is that both defenses assert themselves, because we can go over here and we could see that both of these defenses are amongst the top 5 in the league against the pass. The Chiefs number 3, the 49ers number 5 in EPA against the pass. If both of these defenses find a way to stop the run to a reasonable degree, they haven't been good at that, but I could see it happening in a one-game scenario, then all of a sudden you have a game that's much lower scoring than some people might expect. I tend to believe, and I haven't made my prediction yet, but I tend to believe that these run defense struggles of both the Chiefs and the 49ers are really going to set both quarterbacks up for success. Because if you can't control the run game or you can't sufficiently slow the run game, then you're going to give Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy an awesome platform to throw. And if you give those guys an awesome platform to throw, you have the 49ers in the upper right, and you have the Kansas City Chiefs rising. I would say, the season long, I could probably divide this up into splits, but the season long tally for Kansas City is not going to be as good as they've been over the playoffs and to close the regular season. They did lose that game against the Raiders, but I think Mahomes and his receivers have been getting better. It's just been a more balanced offense. They've been able to run and power run a little bit better than in 2019. We saw the Chiefs at Levi Stadium last year. Isaiah Pacheco was a load. He looked good. 49ers really struggled against what Andy Reid was running, trying to take advantage of the edges, right? They were running some perimeter stuff. You have to remember Nick Bosa was rusty. He was coming off of the game against Atlanta, which he missed. And it looked like Nick Bosa wasn't doing a good job with Andy Reid's misdirection at all. Nobody looked good. Charvarius Ward didn't look good against his former team. Remember, Charvarius Ward was on the Chiefs when Kansas City beat San Francisco in the Super Bowl. So now Ward is on the 49ers, and that is a big switch because Deommodore Lenoir and Charvarius Ward have given up hardly nothing here over the postseason. The 49ers DB issues are only at that third DB spot. I thought they got safety reasonably figured out, especially in the pass game against the Detroit Lions. It is that third corner spot that I would definitely be worried about against Patrick Mahomes. That being said, is Kansas City's receiving core set to challenge the 49ers defense? Because it's definitely not as good as it was 4 or 5 years ago. Tyreek Hill's not there anymore. Sammy Watkins is not there anymore. The Chiefs were struggling with drops essentially all season long. I think if you stop Travis Kelce, which is easier said than done, but if you could stop Travis Kelce, then it's just not nearly as good for the Kansas City Chiefs offensively. You really cut off the head of the dragon, if you will, if you do that, because it's a lot of receivers who have dropped a lot of passes outside of him. I'm going to answer another round of questions. Michael Otis, the Chiefs throw 70% of their passes to two players. Shut them down. The Chiefs do not present the same type of matchup problems they used to. Let's put it that way. However, they do run the ball better than they used to, and that's where the 49ers are weaker than they used to be. So that's a lot has shifted, and I'm going to delve further into this as the week progresses, but that's just going to be something that you have to keep an eye out for. Mike thinks that Mooney Ward might be the best free agent pickup Lynch has ever signed. Yeah, he's really good. I think Richard Sherman was really good too. But obviously, Charvarius Ward much more in his prime than Sherman was. But Sherman gave the 49ers 2 really good seasons. And I think that third season, even though he was hurt a lot through 2020, everybody was. First of all, he left the 49ers with an indelible mark. I was talking to Richard Sherman last week, and I told him, you got to come out to this NFC Championship game, because I told him that it was his tutelage of that secondary that really set a tone for the 49ers turning into a better, more ball-hawking defense. And even though a lot of those players are no longer around, the tone is like this baton that you pass. You pass it to the next guys in the room, the guys that were there with you, and then they could pass it to the next guys. I mean, culture, especially in the NFL, is something that's the transfer from older player to younger player. And I think that Richard Sherman really got the 49ers on the right track. So I thought that it was fitting that he took my advice. He came out to Levi Stadium. He's like, Richard Sherman said, I have to be there for this NFC Championship game, because I think he was a part of the 49ers building process. They needed him for that culture on defense. So he was a good free agent pickup. Charvarius Ward obviously is yielding big dividends for the 49ers in his second year. They made a lot of good pickups, this front office has. A lot more good pickups than bad pickups because otherwise you wouldn't have the kind of success that the 49ers have, and they've got a really, really good roster right now. 49ers almost won the last Super Bowl matchup with no CMC and no Brock Purdy. So, yeah, they've upgraded at running back for sure, and they've upgraded at QB, but they have downgraded on defense. I don't think anybody's trying to say that this defense has been better than 2019's. It hasn't. The defense has been worrisome. What do you think about the new tools that the 49ers bring? Well, yeah, Purdy and McCaffrey, they're 2 MVP finalists. There are only 5 MVP finalists in the NFL. Purdy and McCaffrey are 2 of them. So, you've added 2 MVP finalists to a team that stayed very close with the Chiefs last time. I guess you could put it that way. Does Purdy need this win for a future payday? Well, I'm sure the payday will be bigger if he's a Super Bowl champion. I think he needs it for a few. I think Purdy is damn good. I think that's been proven. Even if he has a bad game in the Super Bowl, he's going to continue to be a good quarterback. So winning the Super Bowl makes everybody a little bit richer. Let's put it that way. Richard thinks that Darrell Luter Jr. is going to beat out Ambry Thomas next year. Well, the question is Darrell Luter Jr. ready for it this season down the stretch? I don't think so. I think he's probably going to need an entire offseason to get ready because Luter missed most of this year practice-wise with the bone bruise. That was a deep bone bruise, so he wasn't available. He missed all training camp, missed several weeks, and the 49ers finally activated him. But boy, he's got athleticism. He got long strides. He moves really well. How much of the broken thumb has hurt Ambry's play? I think it has to have an effect because you're still wearing not a club, but you're wearing a cast on your hand, and it feels different. So, especially in mano-a-mano situations like the one where we saw him out-muscled for the ball, doesn't help to have a little cast on your hand. So that's probably part of it, but he wasn't turning around in the pass interference penalties, especially the second one against the Packers, and those are the ones the 49ers really need to avoid. You got to make the opposition make the play. You can't let them get away with it just by the official throwing a flag. Yeah, and Mike has a good point. Ambry was outstanding to close the season, but just doesn't seem like he's been the same player since. All right, cool. We're keeping an easy show tonight. Everybody get some recharge time. 49ers back out at the facility tomorrow. I'll be there, and I'll talk to you very soon.